So, I'm continuing talking about, for me, what is the essence of spirituality and what is the bottom line. What is the most important? In case you guys haven't noticed, spirituality is a big business. Big business. When I was in ministerial school, which is what we called it, and then they called it cemetery. Not cemetery, but
cemetery.
Every class would do, the senior graduating class would do a play. So we took The Wizard of Oz, and I was one of the primary writers, and there were two other classmates, and we collaborated, and we did a metaphysical interpretation of The Wizard of Oz. And I remember, I got to play Dorothy. That was so much fun. Toto was called Dog, which is God backwards, So God was always with Dorothy. So anyway, when they got to the poppy field, I remember we were saying, please buy our tapes, please buy our tapes, please buy our... And that was what we said was the poppy field. Whatever the next religious, spiritual fad is, that people can get caught up in that and not really get the essence of what is there. So Phil and I have been watching on Netflix, we're finished now, something called Trust Me. And it's about a false prophet. I highly recommend it. And it can be disturbing, parts of it. And this is not against any religion or anything, but this was a breakaway sect from the Church of the Latter-day Saints. These people were fundamentalists, which meant they had multiple wives. The men had multiple wives. And the wives were taught obedience. The only way to salvation was through obedience to this guy who claimed to be a prophet, channeling the previous prophet who was in jail and had died. It's the story of abuse. Really sad. And the thing about it is, it's based on a true story. It's a documentary. And these people lived in Arizona, too, up near Utah, I think, north of Phoenix. So I highly recommend that. And I'm only bringing it up to say there is such a thing as spiritual abuse. Abuse of authority, abuse of people's faith. So how do you know that the person you're listening to is genuine? That the person you're listening to has an honest, authentic relationship with the divine presence within and is speaking from the heart, speaking from that. I've had many spiritual teachers that took me a little bit further in my understanding and in my practice. Dr. David Hawkins out of Cottonwood, Sedona area was one of them. And Dr. Hawkins was really big in kinesiology, muscle testing, everything. He said, muscle test to see the strength. And this is based on the unified field of consciousness. Everything is energy. Everything is a frequency. The higher the frequency, the stronger your test will be, your test of kinesiology. So he said, test everybody. And Jesus just said, by their fruits you'll know them. And I'll tell you right now, you don't need an intercessor. You don't need a go-between between you and God. As a matter of fact, that's impossible. If we are coming into a greater awareness of God and living from that experience, nobody can do that for you. You've got to develop it yourself. So how do you develop it yourself? You can't say, well, I'm going to get me some of that enlightenment. How do you develop it? breathe, go to your heart space. Peace, be still. Meditation. Meditation. And I'm going to hit this over and over again. And it just means be still and pay attention. I like when I was a little girl in elementary school, stop, look, and listen, right? Stop your thinking, what you're doing, your analytical stuff. Look around you, look inside you, and listen. And I'm here to testify that the still small voice is a real thing, and it will speak to you if you invite it. Just relax and surrender. The spiritual path is, in essence, surrender. That's it. Love and surrender and service. Service to others. Because here's the deal. I've been revisiting Joel Goldsmith, a mystic, an amazing teacher. And he says the mystical life is just letting go. One of my favorite quotes is from Wu Wei, who is actually the pen name of a British author who wrote plays. And he says this: why are you unhappy? Because 99.9% of everything you think and everything you do is for yourself. And there isn't one. There isn't one. In other words, there are dimensions of consciousness. In the lower dimensions of consciousness, we feel separate. Obviously, there's a separation, and we're, hey, God, remember me? Oh, please give me. You know, we think that we have to get the attention of the divine presence. And then, as our consciousness moves forward, we realize more and more and more that there really isn't a me. The me I think I am is just an ego. So here's something else I really like. Ordinary minds talk about people. Greater minds talk about events. Greater still talk about ideas. An enlightened mind doesn't talk. Spending those moments of not being myself, when I can just let go and realize that the I think I am is an illusion. It's an illusion. And it serves a purpose. It serves a purpose. But it's not the truth. The truth of what's happening in this reality, which I have spent my entire life trying to figure out and trying to see what's going on. Who am I and why am I here and what is this anyway? The whole thing. I have come to believe that it is all God, and God is just experiencing creation. We are here. We say we're co-creators. Well, that's one dimension of consciousness. But if we just let go and say, here I am, use me, we become a hollow reed. And that's what Joel Goldsmith says. He said, I don't promote myself at all, although he's written many, many books. He says, if somebody contacts me and says, will you teach me? Will you come speak and do a presentation? He said, I will. But he's not out there promoting himself. Why? Because there is no self to promote. He is a channel for the expression of God in the world. And that's the purpose of all of us. All of us. We just have to let go. We have to let go and trust. Good old Methodist hymn, trust and obey, for there's no other way. Yeah, to be happy in Jesus. And for us, we reference to Christ because Christ is the consciousness, that exalted consciousness. There is no other way. There really isn't. Now, when you let go and you have these moments of the realization of the energy within you, the more we do this, the more we let go, the stronger the spiritual energy will be. And that's not something you can conjure up. How many read the story I told in my e-blast? You did? Well, I'll tell you this story. Early on in ministry, brand new minister, board member says, "Hey, I've got somebody that will do a workshop." And I said, "Really?" "Yeah, she's awesome." And I go, "Okay, well, make it so." So he contacted her, and I went to pick her up. She comes floating down the steps with thick white makeup on. And I'm going, okay, that's a little strange. We get to the church. She wants a big table up on the platform. So we put that up, and she throws some drapes over it. She lights incense. She dims the light. And as people started coming in to attend this workshop that I promoted, she hopped up on the table and reclined like a diva. And she remained in that pose the whole time she gave her lesson. Now, I was a little bit surprised. A little bit surprised. And you can't stop it in the middle of the presentation. And as I said, I don't remember what her spiritual message was. But what I do remember is that at the end of it, she did a recruitment call for people to be her disciples. Yeah, not cool. Not cool. And 4 or 5 women signed up to do that. And I felt mortified. I thought, oh my gosh, what have I exposed them to? This is the business of using God. The truth of the matter is, we don't use God. We can't. We can make ourselves miserable trying. God knows when I first got into Unity and learned the power of the thought, I wanted more prosperity. So I was using my denials and affirmations like a slot machine. All right, I'm going to get lucky here, and God's going to give me what I want. The funny thing is, God has given me what I want. And it's a byproduct. It's a byproduct of letting go and surrendering. I love that song, "I'm Only Here for God," because that is the truth. So whatever is laid on my heart to say, to go, to do, my personal mission statement is to be responsive, to be willing to be used, not according to my will, but according to what's laid on my heart. Now, there are plenty of people who have a Messiah complex. They do. And you might be thinking, how do I know that it's not just my own ego? How do I know that it's really the still small voice within me? It's always calm. It never asks you to give anything other than your awareness and your love. It doesn't require you buy into anything. It's never force. Never force. As Dr. Hawkins says, it's the power. And the more you surrender, the stronger this power gets. People can feel it. Can feel your aura energy. They can feel the peace that you bring. And you don't have to say a word. You don't have to say a word. So the bottom line, does using the experience of God is that God uses you. That's all. That's all. Now you will forget, of course. Spend your time in prayer in the morning, in the evening, whenever, just those moments. And then you'll go back to being your regular self. You'll be talking about people. You'll be talking about events. You'll be talking about ideas. And that's okay too. Just bring yourself around. Meditation is about breathing. Bring yourself back to the present. And let go. With a sense of humor. Donna, what do you think you're doing? That's what my dad used to say all the time. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's not always a bad thing. I remember my former church, I was speaking, and I got to a point where I just stopped, and I forgot what I was saying. And I looked out at everybody, and I said, okay, this is a test. What did I just say? And that upset some people, and I'll tell you why, because the previous minister, 2 ministers back, had a nervous breakdown on stage one day. And that congregation blamed themselves. We burned her out. And I said, no. We all have a responsibility to care for ourselves and to know what is needed. And you know how we know what is needed? The Spirit's going to tell us. The still small voice. That's how I know that I'm on track with my retirement. As difficult as it is in some ways, this has been coming for years. And nope, not time. Then all of a sudden that moment of clarity, boom, it's time. It's time. So I'm curious as to what's next. But I do know this. I want to go deeper. I want to go deeper for my own self. Not that I don't share, of course. But I want my purpose to be my own enlightenment. In other words, I want to stop talking. Let me see what else I've got. Okay. When you can detach from your ego and recognize yourself as pure awareness, you realize, I of myself can do nothing. It is the divine presence within that does everything. Because it is not I that does the work. I am simply a channel. God is unconditional love, absolute good, pure life within everything, ongoing, without end. When these realizations become internalized, there is nothing to resist or control. There's only God. We simply become a hollow reed. I want to talk about, when I said ordinary minds talk of people and all of that, there are dimensions of consciousness. The third dimension is where we have an awareness of ourselves as separate, as little babies. We suddenly realize I'm not my mama or my daddy. Next comes the evolution of questioning, who am I and why am I here? And then comes the fifth dimension, which is spiritual awareness. It is the place of unconditional love, acceptance, and forgiveness. Just releasing all of that garbage we drag around. Past the fifth dimension is the dimension of the soul. And is when we get in the dimension of light and surrender to the flow that we develop psychic abilities. We develop sensitivities to energy. And we become true instruments. True instruments. There are other dimensions past that. Infinity, eternity, ninth dimension, God, 10th dimension, the multiverse, 11th, the omniverse, and 12th, love, pure love. Kind of sounds like extraterrestrial consciousness to me. It's a mysterious world. It's a beautiful world. And it gets even better the more we let go and let God. And that's it for this lesson.